Welcome back to the Sideline Live podcast. You can follow us over on Twitter and Instagram at the Sideline Live. We'd love to hear from you. On episode 72, I am delighted to be joined by Irish senior international and professional basketball player John Carroll. On this episode, we discuss his career, moving to the States, college basketball, becoming a pro, the process of choosing a team, and so much more. I thoroughly enjoyed chatting with John, so I hope you enjoyed the episode. Hi John, thanks a million for joining me on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Before we get into everything, I have a wide variety of listeners. Would you mind introducing yourself to those who might not know who you are?
Yeah, my name is John Carroll. I'm from Ireland, from Howth, Dublin. I play basketball. Play professionally in Spain right now. Played college in America in high school, and I played for the men's senior national team as well.
Very good. Growing up, why basketball? Who got you involved in the sport?
I started when I was about 12. My dad played. He played for some Irish teams, and then he played for Leicester. But I didn't start until I was 12. I think Vinnie Green, who was involved with Cubs, saw me on the beach or saw me playing golf or something, and thought to ask my mum about me playing. So it's a bit of a random one.
Yeah. You weren't ever swayed by rugby or GAA out in Howth, no?
I played both. I played Gaelic growing up, and then I went to school where rugby was the biggest sport, so I played rugby for 2 years, but I liked it, but I just didn't like it as much as basketball. Okay,
I've actually asked a couple of people for questions, and Rachel wanted to know, why did you like basketball so much? What was it for you? Apart from your height.
Yeah, when I started, I was 6'1" or so. So I grew after. I don't know, I really liked America as well. We used to go on holidays in America, so I liked America and like American culture and stuff. So that was probably part of it. And then I kind of got good fast, which helped, I suppose.
And was your dream always to go to America then when you started playing basketball? It's, this is an American kind of culture here. I could have an opportunity to go.
Yeah, I wanted to play college. Well, I wanted to play NBA, but I really wanted to play college, especially after watching Butler make that run and then play Duke in the Final Four the first time they went. And I was like, I really want to play college basketball and then potentially play in the tournament.
For you growing up, it's interesting because there was no Irish senior men's team at the time. So at the time, who were your role models and who did you grow up watching, whether in Ireland or abroad?
I would mainly watch like NBA players, and then like as I started to get into college, I would like kind of follow guys who kind of looked like me. Like I like watching Gordon Hayward when he was at Butler and stuff, and then Matt Howard, who's also at Butler. So I would like try and find guys who I could reasonably play like. But then I'd also just be a fan of the NBA as well, and like that's where I'd like find moves to do and such.
I was listening to your two podcasts with Basketball Ireland and Hoopfolio. You mentioned before that you were dropped from a Dublin team around under 14, but that was kind of the catalyst to you kind of improving, and I think you took a big growth spurt afterwards as well.
Yeah, I think we had 6 guys going for it, and then I was the only guy who didn't make the next cut on our team, our Cubs team, and our Cubs team was good, so we probably all should have made it. But and then the next summer I grew from like 6'1" to 6'6" or 6'5" maybe. So yeah, I really worked on my game that summer, and then I also got tall, so I got lucky in that sense.
What did you work on specifically? Was there big kind of glaring elements to your game that, there were just gaps to fill?
Yeah, I worked on like my perimeter game more so, not necessarily dribbling, but like triple threat kind of like moves to do on the perimeter. I improved my game a lot in that, and then I got more athletic. I think I really made an effort to be able to jump higher and stuff. So it's probably those two things, like getting faster, jumping higher, and just having a bit more perimeter skills.
Was that at the point that, I know you mentioned your Cubs team were good, but you started to really kind of focus on maybe practicing outside of, team sessions and organised training sessions?
Yeah, I mean, I started working pretty hard then. Like I used to go to Trinity before, because I went to school in town, so I'd work out in Trinity in the mornings, like early, get the first turn in, work out before. I was doing that my junior cert year and transition year. So I guess that was like 14, 15, 16. And I was really like working out, and then I hooped my guard and practiced a lot. So yeah, those are the days, or the 2 years where I started to really, work on my game outside of practice, like I said.
Okay, that's interesting. What would you specifically do in Trinity before school? Was there any particular plan you do, or you just kind of following whatever?
Yeah, usually I would just like I'd make a workout for myself in the morning or sorry the night before, and I would like probably have 45 minutes to an hour, and then I might lift that morning, I might lift after. So depending on that, I'd take a very specific part of my game and like work on that for 45 minutes as opposed to doing a bunch of nothing. But so I had no rebounders, so it was mainly like individual offense type stuff.
Okay, interesting. And why did you do that? What was the motivation to get up early to get the first train in? Not a lot of kids would do that, but why did you do that specifically?
Um, well, it was dark, and so I needed lights to play, and I just wanted like I kept coming across guys who made it who always got up early, so it became like a thing for me to get up early and work out early, and then I could get in the gym, which was lucky. So I know I just took that opportunity, and then I just wanted to play more. I couldn't play. I couldn't get into Cubs gym for whatever reason. I don't remember now. And so I just was like, saw the opportunity. It's like, yeah, let's do it. As long as I'm willing to get up, might as well go.
Brilliant. What do you think? There's a question here. I'm interested to hear. What advice should young players ignore? Is there anything specific you've heard that you're like, that is so wrong?
Um, Maybe over specialization. Like I played a lot of sports growing up, so I wouldn't say just focus on basketball. Like one, or maybe that's the wrong way of saying it, but like I wouldn't just play basketball. I'd play a bit of everything, especially in off season. Like I play golf now and tennis, but you play other sports too. Probably when you're 14, 15, you need to make those other sports hobbies and then focus on basketball if you're going to do it. But yeah, I wouldn't say like quit everything else, and I mix a bit of everything in.
Okay, that's interesting. Jack wanted to know what made you different from every other kid playing in Ireland.
I think I had really high aspirations for myself, which was kind of not an Irish thing generally. And I wasn't really afraid of voicing those and kind of looking stupid because I knew I would like put the work in to make it happen. And then also I was growing, felt like I was pretty good. So I was looking around and I was like, well, I figure I'm the best player, so I have the best chance. So I might as well go for it.
I was listening to previously, you were talking about your opportunity with IMG. You're very much a self-starter. You found their YouTube videos and you went to their camp. Talk us through that whole decision of looking at IMG, looking at academies, and I think you were around that 16 age group when you moved over, was it?
Yeah. Well, I didn't look anywhere else. So I went to the camp, which was 3 weeks. I used the Ronnie Delaney scholarship I won at CUS, but then I got another week free as like kind of a trial, and I worked
Okay.
out with the pros and the college guys, and yeah, and then it just worked out. Like I got an offer for like a pretty big scholarship to go there, and it worked out pretty well.
What was it like kind of explaining to your parents, look, I've got this opportunity to go to America? Was there any sort of hesitation there at all?
Well, my mum just wanted to make sure it was like legitimate, but it was like my dream place to go because if you wanted to get up early and work out, that's the place to go. And then we were at the gym the whole time and strength conditioning. So it wasn't that tough a sell for my dad, but for my mum, she just wanted to make sure it was proper and good school and like I wouldn't have a problem. Which actually, because I wanted to go to college in America, it's better to go over to America. Just made it easier.
Okay.
So after a while, we went all right.
I've seen a lot of the videos and the vlogs and overtime stuff in IMG. It's a serious campus. What's it like going over to this factory of a place coming from Ireland where you've trying to get time in Cubs and you have to go to Trinity College?
Yeah, it was. It was different. There was like a big divide. Some guys, there was like a lot of rich kids who were there, just sent there, kind of like a boarding school, and then there was a lot of guys who were like really trying to make it. And I was in the second group, so it's like you want to hang out with those guys, and everyone's like trying to do well, but you're competing against those guys too, almost for spots. So um, it was good exposure wise, and then it was good for just getting better. And the biggest shock was just playing against American guys day in day out, so much more athletic. Even compared, I went to the European Championships in the 16. Even compared to that, like these guys were just unbelievably athletic and like just had a real knack for basketball. So it really helped me just like to tighten my game up.
I heard a really good quote. I think it was a podcast or an article, and they were like, in America, it's it's like genetic freaks are playing basketball. It's not just athletes. You know, they could
Oh
be
yeah,
athletes in any sport, not just basketball. Like they could do whatever they want, basically.
absolutely. And even just I've played in New York, like on the park, and there's so many guys who just haven't made it at all, who are just freaks in nature. Like, and I don't know how they haven't made it. Well, you do know because they screw up in other ways, but like, yeah, genetic freaks, exactly.
When you go to America and you go to IMG specifically, what's it like? You know, being Irish, what's that perception like? Where are you from? Oh, Ireland. Was there anyone else from Ireland in IMG actually?
Was there anyone else from Ireland? I don't think there was when I was there. There might have been a golfer, but I don't think so. Yeah, it was different. Like I had to change. Like they couldn't understand what I was saying the first couple of months at all. So, but no, there was no real stigma because I was 16. I wasn't going out boozing all the time. You know, we were on campus, but I guess my temper would be my one stereotype that played out. So I needed to harness that, and still harnessing it to this day.
Yeah, that's fair enough. When you're going over to there with the schedule, what's that like? What's kind of like a daily routine? I know it's a long time ago, but it's just to give some of the younger listeners an insight into that.
Yeah, that was kind of a wild schedule, probably the craziest. We get up at 6 a.m. and we do what was called movement, which was like kind of hip mobility and a bit of conditioning. And then we had school from 7:30 to about 2:30 with lunch in between. And so then after that we'd go lift and then practice. And so we'd be done around 6:37. That wouldn't be a typical day in America. You usually be in school for longer, but IMG was different where they wanted you to finish school early so you could have more time to practice and stuff.
Okay, and academically, is it like in comparison to the Irish system? What was it like over there?
Um, it's less test centric, more day to day.
Okay.
That's just America in general. So it's good if you get your work done. You know, you don't have to be a great test taker. So America's better in that sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you go over there, this is an interesting question from Eve. She said, how did you find going from in Ireland being a 40-minute per game player to almost nearly starting from the bottom and kind of that transition? Like, what's it like coming from Ireland, being a big name, to America, and you're part of this big pool of players now?
I was fortunate enough that I always kind of played a lot of minutes when I was going over, but it was almost more humbling in a way because you're playing a lot of minutes against guys who are better than you. So
Okay.
I don't know. It's just like I said, it's humbling because you're no longer the best player, so you have to be a little more creative with your game and you have to improve. So, but it's a challenge. You don't want to be the best player basically anywhere. Like I don't think it's kind of like not a challenge, and it's hard to improve if you're the best player.
Yeah, I like that. You mentioned there the creativity. Specifically, what were those little things that you had to add to your game?
I mean, you know, if you're the best player in Ireland, for example, growing up, like you get away with a lot. You probably just drive right all the time, or you know, you don't have a huge variety of footwork. I think my footwork got a lot better in America in the post and even on the perimeter from Ireland. So just like you can't do the same thing over and over again, and then also you just get better at playing back cuts and stuff like that. Like it's not going to be isolation every time. So you just need to score in a variety of ways, and then defensively, you just have to be a lot better because these guys are probably going to be quicker than you, or just quicker in general.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever get discouraged at the early stages when you're coming up against, like, because that's hard to do sometimes, you know, when you're going from Ireland to the US and you're now playing against players that you just said they're just better than you. Was there ever a stage that you were really discouraged, or did you just keep going on?
I don't really get discouraged often. The only thing was I had a couple of injuries and concussions, and it was looking like I wasn't going to get a Division One offer, so I was getting a little upset about that. But that's mainly because I knew I was good enough to play D1. So in that way, I was kind of discouraged. But I mean, there's a lot of spots, so you don't have to be the best player like in the world. You know, I was kind of just in awe of guys who are really good and just trying to keep pace with them. So no, I wouldn't say discouraged as long as I was healthy. When I have an injury, it's a bit annoying.
Yeah, it is. What did you specifically pick up from any of your teammates? Like you mentioned previously, that squad and IMG were ridiculous. Was there anything that you learned off the other players there? Or even in college, is there anything you've learned just from watching your teammates, or maybe the opposition you just picked up on just from watching them?
See, you kind of have to learn stuff on your own. Like, and the guys I played at IMG were like much different to me. Had a lot of natural ability.
Mm-hmm.
I played with a couple of good guys, but in college, I played with the senior Mark Wakama, who was really good. Like, this is my freshman year, like a really good scorer in the post and stuff. So I kind of learned pacing in the post from him, and he had a really good work ethic as well in practice. So I'd say I probably learned from him, and that I can't remember IMG really in that way. And then the hill, I wasn't really learning from anyone. I don't know if you really learn from your opponent. So yeah, it's probably Mark McCallum.
Okay, very good. You mentioned the Hill school there. Was there a link with Paul Cummins to go there?
It kind of. I went to Paul's camp, and one of the coaches at the camp put me in contact with the coach there and stuff like that. So yeah, but he went to he had a similar route to me where he did 2 years high school and one prep school. That's Paul Cummins I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went to SDA and got that connection that way.
Okay, very good. And when you go to the Hill, obviously it's a very different environment, a very different team as well. What is it like moving there and kind of being the main, kind of playing a bigger role, and kind of, more college scouts or coaches are looking at you rather than a full collection of players at IMG?
Yeah, Hill was different because we had like loads of like good basketball players, but like one would be a soccer player, one would be a
Okay.
football player naturally, and then like we had a couple of D3 guys, D2 guys. But the coaching was really good, and it was different because I was like the most serious guy about it, and I'm probably the highest recruited guy that year anyway. So that was a good way for like I got the skill in IMG and got the pedigree, and then once I got to Hill, like I was ready to fill that role, and then I think I did pretty well, and we won the state championship in our league and all that. So yeah, that was probably one of my favorite years playing.
Okay, very good. For any of the kids in Ireland, I suppose when you're not playing high school or prep, what advice would you give them on contacting coaches, filling out emails, video? Is there anything that you would advise them on?
I'm really bad at this. I've never emailed a coach or anything, so
Oh, it's fair enough.
I'm the worst person to ask for that.
That's fair enough.
I would say one thing I would say is just you probably should try and get over to America as some sort of exposure camp, like hoop group, or if you could even get on an AU team.
Okay.
The best way to do it is to get over. Like the amount, I do know that the amount of film these coaches get is just crazy.
Okay.
And they like only go through it when they're bored in their office. Like from my experience, at least, with assistant coaches I know who I used to play with, they're just like looking through it. Like it rarely materializes into an offer. You need some sort of connection, and the best way to do that is to go to a camp like SDA where there's American coaches, or go to America where there's even more coaches, obviously.
Okay, that's interesting. When you're getting offers and you're kind of visiting colleges and you're talking to coaches, what did you look for? Why Hartford? What was the difference maker there?
Well, I was going to college. Like I really wanted to play college still and still had that goal. But then I was like, okay, well, I want to be a professional. So where's the best place to like harness me into professional?
Okay.
And I probably could have went to a bigger school, like maybe a better basketball school, but maybe I wouldn't have played as much as a freshman and stuff, which I didn't want to do because I'm not really used to not playing. So, and then I really liked the coach and his vision with the team and like the guys and the offense. So it was really a basketball decision for me. And then like the school was also good, and I was going into the business school, so it fit in that regard. But I was mainly making that decision off of basketball.
Okay, interesting. And when did you realise that you kind of not only wanted to play professionally, but kind of have a realistic chance here at doing that?
Probably going into like that freshman year, because I knew Mark was going to play pro, and Mark was really good, but like I felt like I could be as good as him, if not better. So I looked at him, and they like set him as an example for me, like what level you have to get to be professional. So yeah, probably my freshman year at Hartford.
Okay, very good. What's it like going in then as a freshman? You mentioned there, you made a decision for basketball wise, but even trying to balance the academic side of things, how was that?
It was fun. Like compared to school in Ireland, school in Ireland's harder. So if you're staying in high school the whole way through, or even the hill school, is probably a little bit harder because we had Saturday school as well.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So it's easy enough to balance, and then we have summer school, so you're kind of taking the load off. But you just have to, do your assignments on time and regular stuff. We have plenty of time to do it. And there's tutors. There's always tutors at these colleges if you need help. But that wasn't an issue.
Okay. And basketball wise, how big of a step up is it from prep school to college?
Massive. It's really the biggest step up I've probably had. Like the step from college to pro isn't as big as the step from like high school, prep school to college. Like it's just different level of physicality. Like everyone's savvy, much more savvy than high school, much more solid. The coaching, our coach is really good in a hill, but like the opposing coaching is good. The scouting, this crazy amount of scouting. That's probably the biggest difference. Like they know everything you like to do. We'd be doing scouting like 2 days in advance, 3 days in advance sometimes for colleges. That's more scouting than we do here professionally. So
wow, okay. And in terms of the scouting, you said they know everything about you, but specifically, would they give you kind of like a matchup? Let's say you're going to mark whoever it is, and is it a very team based scouting, or is it very is it a bit of both individual and team, or how does that work?
It would be they mainly basically how scouting usually works is like they'll go through personnel and they go through the rotation, like the 8 guys, 9 guys, and they give you their tendencies in a general sense, and then after that they'll go through like team offense, team defense, and then like say the team has a like really dominant ball handler, like they'll talk about our scheme guarding that guy, or say they have bigs who aren't comfortable like passing out of a double team, like then you'll talk about like the team scheme of how we deal with that. And then you go through that in practice, and then like usually have a red team, is what we call it. Like the guys at the end of our rotation and a couple of walk-ons would like run the other team's plays and run it against you guys, and you would go through it. And oftentimes they would beat you, like because you didn't know the plays and you're running the same stuff you run every day, and they know it. But it's really good preparation.
Okay, that's really interesting. So if you were to kind of break down like a college practice, is a lot of it just, let's say in season, I know pre-season's different, but is it a lot of it just kind of breaking down the opposition, running through the scout on the court?
Yeah. Well, you have your normal things you do for the first 30 minutes, 45 minutes, like your team stuff, your drills, whatever. But then once you play live, like contact, you would have your red team, and they'd be running the stuff that you're about to see.
Okay.
And like say they have like that dominant ball handler, they'll tell the other point guard like, okay, we want you using ball screens the whole time. We want you being aggressive. We want you shooting this pull-up shot, even if like that's not his game. Like we just want to see a realistic look at what this team will look like.
Okay.
So I think that's a really good thing about college that we don't do. We do it kind of here, but we just don't have as many players. In college, you have so many players. Like we have like 15 guys in the roster, where red team could have 6 guys, 7 guys, and then the starters and the main rotation could, play against them realistically.
Okay, that's really interesting. From in the college level, is there? I know there's loads of coaches involved, but is there? I know that and team practices obviously, but individually, is there in season? Is there much individual work put in with positional coaches at all?
Like that'd be like at the start of practice. Usually have like a bigs breakdown, guards breakdown.
Okay.
So you do like your moves that you would have in the offense, like if it's like handoffs to a roll or like finishes and stuff. So you would usually do your individual stuff then, but the majority of like individual sessions would be done in the off season, because I think there's rules. You can't do 2-a-days in college.
Oh, can you
like
not?
Here,
okay.
Yeah, well, here we do 2-a-days. Like in the mornings we'll do shooting sometimes, and then in the afternoon we'll do our team practice. But yeah,
Okay.
college, I don't think you can do that.
Okay. And in season then, are you running practice 5-6 days a week, or how does it work then?
Is this college
College,
or
sorry.
college? Yeah, it would depend on games, but you would usually get one full day off, but you usually have a light practice the day after a game, usually, especially towards the end of my career when we had a lot of seniors. So the day after a game, we would always like go in the pool and do like light stuff while the other guys like did a heavier practice.
Okay.
But it changes with team.
Yeah. I think it was your junior year, you had a really big win. You snapped up a winning streak against, was it Virginia Tech? I've probably got the college name.
Vermont,
Vermont, sorry.
yeah, I think they had the longest home winning streak in the country.
Wow.
It's like 30 something games, and we won like right at the buzzer almost.
Wow.
Those teams were really good. They're probably one of the best like mid-major teams in America consistently. So yeah, that was probably one of my bigger wins.
Your junior year, you were very successful that year, and I was listening to the Bench Talk episode, and you kind of, not a totally attributed to it, but that previous summer you played for Ireland and you played against college team, and you kind of said, if I can score 25 here, I can go back to the States and do really well. Is that kind of the junior year? Was it kind of everything just kind of came together for you really well?
Yeah, I remember we played Charleston. I think we actually lost kind of badly, but I played well before fouling out, and Charleston are a good, like really good college team. So I was like, well, if I could do this for Ireland, like you said, I figure I could do it. And then my first game that season, I had 26. So
Wow.
yeah, it just all came together. I was healthy too, I wasn't healthy the year before. I was coming back from surgery, came back a little fast maybe.
Okay.
So then really worked that summer. I think I had a really good summer working out. Like I worked out in the mornings, kind of like I did in Trinity, not quite as early because I didn't have to get up for school. And then I would lift. I actually kind of had a Spanish lifestyle. I'd lift and then I'd eat and then I'd take a little siesta and then I'd shoot that night, and I did that like 6 days a week.
Wow.
And
Okay.
I played pickup as well a little bit in there, but yeah. So I've really just worked on my game. So it's a culmination of like just being healthy, seizing the opportunity, and then putting the work in the summer.
Do you feel like your confidence kind of going into that year was just from the preparation you put in? Like even that 6 days a week, like your game's going to get better, but confidence wise, you're going to be probably really sky high there.
Yeah, and then I think our first meeting back at school, like our coach said, like John's going to be a Player of the Year candidate, and I averaged like 6 points the year before. Terrible shooting, but he knew what I was doing at home, and he knew I was playing well for the Irish team, so he gave me good confidence in that. And then I was playing well going into the season, so I was just yeah playing with confidence and kind of didn't let up.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting, kind of at college level, you're on scholarship. There's a lot of commitments there. When you want to play for the Irish senior team, and I'm thinking of the guys and the girls that are away at the moment, and with the Eurobasket, what's that conversation like with your coach? Look, I want to play for the Irish senior men's team. How do you kind of approach that, and how does that work out?
I mean, I was really lucky because my Coach Gallagher at Hartford, is like very Irish, so
Okay.
he was all about it. They actually paid for my flights going back as well.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so yeah, that was an easy conversation for me, to be honest. But I don't think I missed a ton because we had one summer session. But Gal was very accommodating for me in
Okay.
that regard. He didn't really care, and I don't think they should, because most likely, like, let's take CJ Fulton for example. Like, he's going to benefit from playing with us. Like, half our team is professionals. We're all older, bigger. He's going to play against really good teams this summer, if I assume he'll come back again. So that'll just help him at Lafayette. Like, the
Mm-hmm.
games the games we play for our Irish team are just a higher level than most D1 games. So I would assume most coaches would want you to play, especially if it's for your senior team.
Mm-hmm.
It's just good exposure too.
Yeah, that's a great point. Just speaking to CJ there, you played with him in the summer. Could you see what he was going to do at Lafayette starting out already? He's starting five. He's absolutely balling out. Could you see that happening?
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I mean, he started for us, and our team would smoke Lafayette. No offense to CJ. So I figured that would translate to him in college. But yeah, I watched a couple of his games, and seen highlights, and he could do more even if he wanted. But he's just such a true point guard that he I wasn't surprised at that at all.
Very good. Was it around your junior year you started working with Drew Hanlen?
Yeah, it was that summer actually.
Okay.
Going into the senior year.
You're probably sick of people asking you about this.
No, I'm not. I'm sick of people asking me to text Drew for something, which happens a lot actually.
But how did the opportunity come to work with you, Hanlen? A lot of people wanted to know how that kind of came about.
Well, that was my coach as well, kind of sorted that out. He put me in contact with Fran Fraschilla, who works for ESPN, and he knew Drew. So that was where the connection started, basically. Okay. I talked to Drew and said, like, I wanted to play professionally, obviously, and I felt like I needed to improve certain aspects of my game to do that. Like, I wanted to play really high professionally, so to do that, I wanted to work out with him. And he was like, yeah, all right, come out.
Okay, and what's it like? What's he like as a trainer? What kind of level does he bring your game to? How much detail does he go into as well?
He's really good, and there's a lot of there's a lot of trainers who aren't very good, but Drew is definitely one. He's such knowledge for the game, and he's only small. Like, he was a shooter and pretty short, but he's got great knowledge for like big man stuff as well. I was really surprised at. And then he knows all the mechanics of your shot. Like, he was an extremely good shooter as well. So, I was shocked by the amount of knowledge he has. He just watches so much film. He's like a savant, basketball savant. So yeah, he's crazy knowledgeable.
You were training and you were actually playing against some pretty elite players. Talk us through some of those runs I've seen on YouTube.
Yeah, I was in one pickup game where I was one of two guys that wasn't in the NBA, and the other guy is a friend of mine named Chima Moneke, who's probably the MVP in Spain right now in the ACB.
Wow.
So it's me, Chima, Joel Embiid, Tatum, like KCP. I think RJ Barrett was there, so he wasn't in the NBA technically, but he was third pick in the draft. Like, loads of guys I'm even forgetting. Yeah, Torian Prince, Myers Leonard.
Did you get any touches that day?
Huh?
Did you get any touches that day?
Yeah, I had one game where I had like 9 points, but we still lost. Embiid was a force. I drove in once and he was there. I just threw up some absolute crap. I was like, I'm not going to even try. But yeah, Tatum was just unbelievable. He was probably the most impressive guy.
Okay, what was about his game that really impressed you? Was there anything in particular?
Well, he's taller than me, and he's just so smooth. His handle is crazy. He hits all those shots that he hits in games, but he hits them all in the pickup. Basically, it's like
Jesus,
crazy off spins and like on the perimeter, just stuff like I couldn't even make my body do if there was no defender there. So
wow, is there any sort of intangibles when you're in a group like that? Is what separates them from everyone else? And you're mentioning their all-stars, potential MVPs eventually. Is there anything that you can just see that's the difference there?
They're huge. They're really big and they move extremely well. And for Tatum, he's really skilled, but I mean, Embiid was just huge. Like, he need Myers Leonard in the leg. Myers was out for 2 weeks. Like, he had a bruise the size of a basketball. And he made Myers look weak, and that guy's not weak at all. Like, that's a strong guy. So
Jesus.
He was just massive. Like, I couldn't get over it. And then they're so athletic. Having said that, the guy I mentioned before, Chima, he was the most athletic guy in the gym. He was 6'6" and just crazy bad. So it's not just the NBA, which is kind of a thing that I learned once I moved to Europe. There's so many good players outside the NBA.
Okay.
And in a lot of ways, Europe's actually tougher. Not my level, but like EuroLeague is really, really physical, really well scouted. Schemes are really good. Like the NBA sometimes, like they're kind of just running up and down, especially in the regular season.
Okay, that's interesting. And when you mention those names, what are they like? What's their personalities like? Are they a bit of cracker? Or are they kind of too serious?
Yeah.
What are they like?
Yeah, I was pretty close with Myers because we were kind of similar, temperament and humor and stuff. But yeah, all the guys were good guys. Couldn't think of anyone that was not a good guy. Just came in, did their work. We're kind of chill. It's a good life to live in LA.
Yeah.
You know, especially if you're an NBA player, just come in, work out a bit, go lift, hang out on the beach the rest of the day. Not bad.
Yeah. You had a pretty good lifestyle there as well. You went a couple of times with Tackle Fall for like pedicures. Where was that from?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I used to hang out with Taco a lot, and my feet were messed up. So I was like, I'm gonna get a pedicure. He's like, oh, I'll come with you. I was like, all right. Well, I booked it, and he walked in, and they were just looking at him like, this is the biggest guy I've ever seen. Well, I think he's the 20th tallest guy in the world. So he's
Wow.
the biggest guy. A lot of people say. So yeah, and the
Yeah.
biggest feet.
What size shoes do you know?
22 maybe.
Jesus, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
After working with Drew, sorry, we got a bit sidetracked there. What was the kind of biggest improvement you saw in your game? Was there anything when you went back to your senior year, you're like, this is a big difference for me?
Yeah, I became a much better shooter. Felt like, um, especially from further, because we were shooting with the NBA line,
Okay,
so I could shoot from further more consistently. That was probably the biggest thing. Yeah, and then just kind of seeing the game a little better with the ball in my hands, probably.
okay. And how would he structure your workouts out of interest? Like, what would you work more on your strengths or your weaknesses? I suppose the off season's different. You've more time for your weaknesses,
Yeah.
but was there any particular structure he would do with you?
Well, it was different because, like, say the first year, it was like a lot of my shot. Uh, so in that sense, it would kind of be a strength, like just honing my shot more, and then
Okay,
maybe a bit of ball handling just to get a bit better on the perimeter. And then the second year, he said, like, this is interesting because, like, I was trying to go G League at that point, and if
Mhm.
I'm going G League, then I'm going to be a shooter basically primarily.
Okay,
But then if I was going to Europe, I'd have to be like a scorer more so than anything else, and like an all round player. So we kind of had to do a bit of both, like work on both, like more individual scoring, and then also like getting a lot of shots up, like
okay.
shit into the corners, like coming up. So did like basically both.
And whether you're with him or your own individual workouts, do you have a particular pattern with your shots? Is there a number of makes you have to do, in your session? How do you work that?
It's not, other than just a pretty basic warm up. There's nothing I have to do.
Okay,
It'll be depend on the day. But if I have things, if someone wants to shoot with me and they want to do a certain thing, I have drills for everything, especially like um, spot up shooting and like moving into certain shots from different angles. But I try and do ones that I'll get in the game.
okay.
Now, yeah, mainly.
And in the off season, do you try, the way players say, "Oh, I shoot whatever 1,000 shots a week"? Is that something you do?
I'm more of a make guy,
Okay,
but yeah, I like. There's definitely a diminishing returns once you get to a certain amount of shots. Like, so I'll if I notice that coming, I'll end it. But no, I don't have like a specific number really. But I'll try and make if I'm shooting, I'll try and make maybe 150.
okay,
But this is like game shots more so than if it's spot up. I could do like 300-400, but there's a time and a place for that. Like if you're really honing your jump shot, you need to do more spot up. But if you're just trying to like work on game shots, you don't need as many.
okay. That's interesting. And outside of the court, I was chatting to Sean Flood about this. Is there any particular habits or routines that you have? Like he was mentioning a little bit about mobility. Is there anything you do outside of off the court, kind of?
Um, yeah, I need to do more mobility. Sean's better for doing that. I like obviously lifting. Like I lift a good amount, and then I also, which is kind of seems very simple, but I like to walk. Like I walk a lot. Living in Spain as well, you just kind of walk more. So I walk like 5 or 6 miles a day, just throughout the day. I think that's important. Like just if you're sitting, I felt like that would happen in college a lot, where you just be sitting in your room doing nothing. Especially if you go somewhere like Hartford where it's cold. So, like, I like to get up and walk like every couple of hours or so, even if it's just to go get a coffee. I think that's important.
Just quickly back to your senior year, you had a really successful year again. Was that the year you lost to UMBC?
We lost them both times, yeah,
Oh, sorry.
but we lost them in double overtime. I think we were down 25 in the second half, and we came back and lost.
Jesus. And that was
Yeah,
the year you played Duke as well, was it?
yeah, we played Duke that year too.
I won't dwell on it too long, but what's it like going into Cameron?
It was unbelievable. Yeah, I wish we could have. Well, we did well for a while, and then I fell out and JR was cramping and all sorts of wheels fell off. But our point guard did really well. I mean, it was Zion and RJ. It wasn't just like a regular Duke team. It was an experience. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I'd say
I
so.
knew RJ from the summer before, and I think he had 28 and 15. So he
Okay.
really messes up.
You had a nice, I think it was a fake jump shot, drive to the hoop and get the foul as well.
Yeah, but I missed the free throw. But I have an
Oh.
and one. I guess on Zion, which is I don't know how. I guess he just didn't jump. I tried. I saw him under there. I was like, I guess I'll just go with his chest and see what happens.
You have to add that to
But
your CV now, and one on Zion Williamson.
yeah,
So you finished up with you ranking ninth in programs. Now I know they've changed now, but Division One era, you were ranking ninth in scoring and fourth in rebounds. It's probably one of the most impressive careers from an Irish point of view. I don't know. I could be well wrong, but I don't know if there's anyone from Ireland that has done that at the college level. What's it like to be known as one of the most successful guys to go over to America?
yeah. I think I'm the only man to score 1,000. I think a couple of women have. I think Susan Moore might have scored 2,000.
Okay.
But I could be wrong. I think so though. I don't know. It's good. There'll be more. CJ Fulton's going to score 1,000, barring if he something happening. So, and then there's a lot more other guys going. So, I guess it's nice to be the first to score like that. I felt like I should have done more. But I guess you always feel like that.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I would say about stats though is I didn't know where I was all time, but also like it's one of those things that you check constantly during the year. And then since I've left Hartford, I've probably checked my stats once or twice, from there. So it's something that seems so important in the moment. And then once it's done, it's done. And it's not as important as you think. Like what's more important is winning with your team and then being a part of the winning. Like you don't want to win and then I'll just be on the bench the whole time. Like you want to be out there. So, guys dwell on stats a lot, but you just want to be on winning teams more than anything, I would say.
You mentioned there before, kind of, you always think you can do more. I was talking to Aoife McDermott. She played for the Irish senior women's team and she's now playing rugby for Ireland. But she was kind of like, when you're a high performer and that high performance mindset, you're always going to think you could have done more, you could have done this. Do you find it hard to kind of switch that off and just be happy at the end of a performance?
No, and I don't try to switch it off really.
Okay.
Because the second you're content, you kind of lose a bit. I think last year I went through a stretch of contentment of just doing my job and that'll be fine and then whatever. And then it actually hurt my game. And at the end of the season, I kind of turned that off and tried to do as well as I can. I think my team benefited from it. So, no, I think you should always have that and always be like, oh, I could have done this, could have done that. You'll have very few games where I don't think I have one game where I was completely content with how I played. Even my career high at Hartford, I think I had 31. I was after the game, we lost, first of all. And then secondly, I was I really should have had 40. I messed up an opportunity to have 40. So I don't think I can turn it off. I don't think you should.
Okay, that's really interesting. So if you were to, after a performance, then how would you deem it as a success in your mind? What makes a successful performance for you?
I mean, the best game I ever played for Hartford, I had 10 points, and it was that Vermont game. But I think I had 10, 5, 5, 3, 3. Just was all over the place. Played good defense, and it was just a huge win. So you can tell when you play well, basically. Sometimes, the other day I had 15 points, I played terrible, and which 15 is kind of a lot for Spain. But you know when you play well, and you know when you don't, and your team knows, and the coaches know, and the opposing coaches know. So, winning is the most important thing. Usually, it's usually a good barometer.
Okay, that's really interesting. I had a question in from Dara. He wanted to know, what was your favourite and the worst part about playing in America, and what do you miss the most about it?
I guess favorite and miss the most, kind of same. I miss the camaraderie of the team where you're on the same team with a lot of guys for 4 or 5 years, and it feels like there's a lot of stakes. We really were trying to get to the tournament, and we didn't make it, but Hartford made it last year, and I saw how important that was, and I was genuinely happy, like extremely happy for the program, and you feel like you're a big part of it. And what did I not miss? I play in America. I'm not sure. That's the thing. It's a bit more schematic here, maybe.
Okay.
It goes into tactics a little more. I like how the Europeans do like practices a little more. It's shorter and more intense. I'd say that. Like Americans like to drag out their practices a bit. That'd probably be the one thing.
Okay, very good. So you finished up in college. How do you begin your career as a professional? Obviously, you hire an agent, but can you talk us through the steps? Just conscious of there's probably younger listeners that aspire to play college basketball and aspire to go professionally. So can you talk us through those initial steps there?
Yeah, so you kind of have to hire an agent. I got that through Drew. I was talking to a couple agents, but I got a guy that I liked, and then I worked out with Drew again that summer. But so then basically offers start coming in, and then you talk like one thing I'd say is like have a goal in mind as to like where you want to go, more so than how much money you want to make. Whatever.
Okay.
That's probably a mistake I made out of college. Like I went to like a higher money offer rather than a good fit, and probably should have went with a good fit and somewhere like in Spain initially. So yeah, but you're just working out all summer like fielding offers, and then eventually you pick the one that suits you.
And you originally said you were looking at maybe going to the G League. Is that still an aspiration? Have you moved away from that? What's the kind of thinking there?
Yeah, it's really hard to go back, and probably just suits my game better here. Like I play for the Irish team here. I have more name recognition here. Like it would have worked maybe going out of college because I was there, but now I'm in Europe. I'm kind of more established. So
when you're picking a team at any level, and and you've progressed on now, so it's not just your first year, but what are the factors that you look at? So you'd be looking at fit, probably country, league, standard, money. Are they the kind of the biggest factors you're looking at?
yeah, fit's probably the biggest one.
Okay.
Like with the coach, with the system, with the league. Obviously, you're obviously looking at money, but one thing I'm looking at more is like place, because you actually have to live in the place. It's like one thing. In college doesn't really matter. Like that doesn't matter, but like you're in college all the time, you're practicing. Colleges are all kind of the same, like different variations, but like there's a big difference between living in Spain and living in the Czech Republic.
Okay.
Like it's like different quality of life and stuff. So I would say like you probably should look into that more once you play in pro. Like where you're playing, is it somewhere that will suit you? Because if you're not happy and not comfortable, you probably won't play as well, typically.
Okay. And when you mentioned before about jumping from college to professional, that it's not as big as going from prep to college. What is the jump like?
It depends where you go, but it's probably a little more practice. It's odd because it's more practice and more downtime because you're just not in school.
Okay.
So it's just like you need to be more responsible for yourself, like making sure your body's right. Your facilities probably aren't as good, which is ironic, but it's true. Like you don't have as good as strength conditioning or physio and stuff, so you got to do a lot of your own work. And it's a business then. College basketball, I suppose, is a business in a way, but it's more catered to you, like to success of the athletes. Here it's like, if you're not performing, they can get rid of you. So it's like higher pressure for sure.
Okay. How do you cope with the pressure? I get the sense you're very calm, cool individual, but do you ever feel under pressure to perform?
It's like, no, I don't like, you don't feel that much pressure. Like pressure is good. Like last year we had a game where if we didn't win our last two games, we might be in the demotion battle. So then everyone played really well and we got through it. Like it's kind of the situations you want to be in. At the end of the day, it's not life and death, So, but you want to have a bit of pressure, or else like it really doesn't mean much. So I'm all right with pressure. But I haven't been in. Well, I was about to say I haven't been in a bad situation, but my situation in the Czech wasn't great, and we were bad. So
Okay.
that pressure is not great when you're a bottom of the league team and everyone's looking around for someone to blame.
Okay, and when you come to the Irish team, you're adapting to a different setup, a different role. How hard is it to adjust to the international windows? I know there's only been one so far, really, but
Mm.
how was that experience?
Um, I mean, I really like it. I actually almost prefer it. I'm pretty comfortable with playing with those guys after the summer and stuff. And then I really like our coaches, but it is different. Like I play a lot more for the Irish team, just given like the Spanish style play and stuff. I think I probably play 10 minutes more a game as it stands.
Okay.
So it's like a different role. It's like a higher, like a bigger role as well, which I like. But yeah, I like it. It's just maybe there's a bit of a shift in mindset going over that I haven't really thought about much, but probably I do.
Okay, and is that shift in mindset of I'm kind of the main guy here, or is it I'm here to, I'm kind of enjoying it more? What is that shift in mindset?
There's definitely like more of a like, well, if I don't play well, like we could be in trouble. Like
Okay.
here, if I do a certain job, like, and I need to play well, but you know, it's just different. Also, there is more pressure where you really just want to win like as much as possible. Like with the Irish team, we want to win every game, but like there's a higher pressure on, and like there's higher stakes where I don't know. There's just patriotism that comes into it, and like we're trying to like build Irish basketball up. So there's like it's more to it than just your club season and getting a paycheck and stuff like it was really important to us to win the small countries and win it convincingly, and we did that, and everyone was extremely happy, and that helped us to get into this Eurobasket. Like if we don't win that, or maybe if we win it by slim margin, maybe you know we don't convince the right people to go. So that's
Mhm.
the kind of stakes. Like you want to play with stakes, and that's what we have it on.
So how big of it was an achievement for you then to win in Cyprus?
Yeah, that was big. And the first play of the game, they did some crazy like behind the back full court layup, and I was like, "Oh, this is a new level. Like we're in trouble." But we settled in, and that was a big win. We probably should have won by more, maybe. But yeah, that was a huge win. And then we played well against Austria for a while, but they were like that. I wouldn't say a rude awakening, but like that's the standard we need to be at, which was a nice like reminder.
Okay, I know you didn't win that game, but what was it like being in the arena? I know the European Championships were in the arena, but there was no fans, so kind of pulling on the heartstrings there. What was it like representing your country at home in the Eurobasket qualifiers?
I think that's the only time I've played in front of fans in the arena. Yeah, so it was really good. Like the crowd was good. We started so poorly, but they came back with us, and for a while anyway. Um, no, it was great, and hopefully we can get even more in now that there's less restrictions.
Hmm.
We play Cyprus at the end of February, so yeah, that'll be big.
What's it like being a 6'6" centre?
It's a grind. It's a grind every day. It's actually grand though because like it causes other people so much issues, really. So it's like as long as I can hang with them in the post, they actually get it worse off, I think. But we'll
Okay,
see. We'll see how big the next guy is there.
okay, very good. I got a question in. Are there any particular players that you believe could join the Irish team to help us moving forward, particularly if we're, looking down at potential qualification? And I think it's 2025 or even beyond that into the next couple of years, beyond 2025, obviously.
Um, yeah, there's only 12 spots, but I mean, Keane Sullivan's a friend of mine. I think he should be in with a shout. He's playing really well now, actually. Um, I don't know what guys like status is with playing for Ireland. I know Sam Alajaki used to play. He seems like he's pretty good. Obviously, CJ will be back this summer. I don't know. Maybe Aiden Harris. I haven't seen him play basketball for a while, but he looks the part. We could use another athlete, I suppose, so I don't have to play 6'6" center the whole time. We can go 6'10" center instead. Yeah, those guys, they're all young guys too, so that could be good to have a few more young guys.
Hmm. Is it a realistic goal that someday maybe Well, someday, yes, but how close is it to have 12 or close to 12 professionals on the team?
How many do we have now? I think we have 6. The thing is, like, our domestic guys, like Lorcan Murphy, could play pro.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like we're almost there now in quality. Pretty close. So yeah, I definitely think if we want to do that, we could. And if it's like there's 2 guys from the domestic league in a couple of years, I think that would qualify if they're like pro level, which I'm sure they will be. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think very reasonable.
I got another question in, I think it's from Isaac. After great success with the team, where would you like to see them specifically improve moving forward?
Um, hmm. Yeah, that's a good question, Isaac. Uh,
I think it was him now. I hope it is.
yeah. Maybe we need a little more. It's so hard though in the window to have any continuity where you're just there for a week. Like I struggle to write out the plays right now almost like without a refresher.
Okay.
So, but maybe a little more. I think Austria's execution of their plays was better than us, for example. So that would probably be an area of improvement. Um, and then just yeah, we need to maybe establish more of an identity. But we're a pretty new team, so that's like to be expected. But yeah, defensively, offensively, just a little more of a. We need to know what Irish basketball is, whatever that is. We're kind of finding out now.
For your own career, what do you see as the route to keep progressing through the leagues? Is there any particular path that you're now looking at, or are you just kind of taking it, I'm looking at the summer, I'll figure it out then?
Yeah, I actually wrote. I was writing it down in like a on my iPad today, like just about next year and like kind of different routes to take. I don't know. We'll have to see how this year ends, and I'm definitely using the Irish team as like a springboard for that, which I'm kind of lucky to have. A lot of like pros don't have that where they can play for their country for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it is a wait and see thing, but I think I'm gonna push. I'm not gonna settle next summer. I'm gonna push as high as I can in
Okay.
regards to level. So I think I have that in my mind for sure.
Do you have any specific goals that you'd like to achieve, whether it's short term or before you retire, or are you just kind of, again, just kind of brainstorming a little bit now?
It'd be great if we could play in some sort of like Eurobasket tournament for Ireland. That would be really tough, and I think I'd have to play for a while
Okay.
to see that through. That would be a really good one. And then, I mean, if I could play like high level Europe, either like a Champions League team or like something like that, that would be great. But I'd be a long way from that at the moment, so I need to get going.
Fair enough. Isaac, another question in about injury. You've spoken about it there. You've kind of gone through a lot, a couple of different knee surgeries and concussions you mentioned. How do you go through the injury, and can you describe some of the struggles you've gone through and kind of overcoming them?
Yeah, I think I've had 2 knee injuries basically. They've been the bad ones. Well, one was like a kind of clean it up, and then I had ACL. Patience would be a thing for me, definitely mentally and physically. The first time I rushed back, um, and then the second time I purposely didn't. I took like a lot of time to get better and whatever. So I'd say patience is probably the biggest thing. It's just because you just want to play so fast and get back to where you were. Also, you can use an injury to make things better that you wouldn't maybe have the time to do or maybe have like the wherewithal. So like you can get more flexible. You can like make it so that you come back better, in certain
Mm-hmm.
ways at least.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I did that, especially the second time.
Okay, very good. How often do you think about basketball? Do you watch basketball? Is it just this kind of all-encompassing kind of lifestyle, or do you kind of have other things you do that you take away time from it?
I do watch a decent amount. Like Sean Flood, for example, is like all encompassing, all basketball, all the time. He's like one of those guys. I wouldn't be as much as that, but like we watched Barcelona versus Bayern Munich yesterday, and I like to watch high level basketball, but I equally don't like to watch low level basketball. So
Okay,
like I just don't need to watch. I won't watch like high school
okay.
USA games. Like they're the worst. They're the worst games I've ever seen in my life. But I do like to watch Hartford. That's more out of like loyalty, and I do like the guys. They play good basketball. So
Yeah.
I'll usually just watch Hartford, and I watch like EuroLeague, Champions League type stuff. A couple NBA highlights just out of like interest.
Yeah, I was on to you before about book recommendations for myself. I know you're an avid reader, but for anyone listening, is there any particular book that you found very interesting or you'd recommend?
A sports book.
Or any book, really. You can pick one of each. One sports, one non-sports.
I'd say. Well, I give it okay. A good basketball book is The Last Shot, which is about Coney Island High School, Lincoln High School, where Stephon Marbury went. Actually, Stephon Marbury's in the book, and it just shows you like it's kind of like those guys I talked about in the park, where you're like, how is that guy not like in the NBA almost? And there's just so many of those guys out there, and you see how things fall apart. It's just kind of a heartbreaking story, but it's good too. And then maybe a non-basketball, non-sports book would be Fooled by Randomness by Nassim Taleb.
Fooled by Randomness?
Taleb. Yeah, he's probably my favorite author, non-fiction author.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just basically saying like how things seem like they're preordained, but a lot of it's like random or luck or chance. So
okay.
Maybe don't think false idols. Like you think someone's so good because maybe things just worked out well for them, you know. Okay. This is an interesting look. I enjoyed that. I read it last year.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. I heard you, I think it was the Basketball Ireland interview, advice to younger players. You said, enjoy/embrace practicing. Dreading practice is the enemy of improving. Can you explain that one there?
Yeah, I came to that realization finally last year. Basically, I had a breakthrough. I was like, you always feel better after practice. Basically, whenever, even like if you have a competitive practice, as long as you're okay, you always feel better. It's kind of like a runner's high. So why would you go in feeling any type of dread or like anxiety or anything like that if you know at the end you'll probably feel better, as long as you didn't get yelled at by your coach, even if that matters to you. It doesn't matter to me anymore. So you'll probably feel better. So you should just go in and go 100%. And you will get something out of it, and you will feel better in the end. Like it's almost like because I used to dread practice, and I dreaded it for no reason. The same works for conditioning too. The worst thing is dreading it, and then once it's done, you actually feel good.
Okay, so when you're in the middle of, say, a tough conditioning session, what gets you through it? Are you just thinking of, oh, this is going to feel great afterwards?
No, I mean you hate it in the moment, but like, and it feels terrible, but like, I mean, the start is the worst part. Like, and the thinking about it at the start or the hours before and letting it like ruin your day. That's one thing I learned in Spain. Like these Spanish guys, like they don't let the knowledge that you have practice at 7 and maybe if it's a tough practice affect them badly at 2. You know, there's no real point in doing that, which is true for sure. Not to say you should be going out drinking and stuff, but you should just have that thing in your mind, like this is what you want to do. You are a basketball player. You do have to practice. Practice is good. You get better in practice and you like it, or else you would probably quit. Yeah. So just get rid of that dread, and then sometimes at points it's gonna be tough, but that's where you get your competitive. If you make something competitive, you don't really feel as tired.
Yeah, that's very true. Out of interest, with team or individual practice, I'm just also conscious of time. If you need to go, let me know. How often do you practice the basics?
What do you mean, like fundamentals?
Fundamentals, yeah, sorry.
Never.
Okay.
We don't practice it anymore, basically.
Okay.
Like, yeah, but younger guy in college we would. Like that's what I was saying with the 45 minutes. Like there'd be a bit of like ball handling, passing type stuff. But now, if you don't have that, you're in trouble.
That's fair. You wouldn't even like even in the off season. You don't need even for yourself. You don't do the fundamentals.
Oh yeah, I do it as type of maybe a warm up, like ball handling stuff, warm up. But like I'm not practicing passing on my own or anything. Like you can do that and pick. Like you kind of have it at that stage. You do it and pick up like in scrimmages and stuff.
Yeah, that's fair enough. What do you think is the most overlooked or underrated skill by players or coaches in Ireland?
defense probably.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so important here. Like maybe it doesn't matter for it as when you're as young, but when you get to college and then pros, like if you can't defend, like you're just out. You can't play at a high level. It's just it is what it is. Like that, like here they hunt mismatches. They hunt the guy that's a bad defender even more than running plays because they just know he's not up for it, whatever. So, and then like you'll see really good guys playing like lower leagues just because they can't guard.
Wow.
Or won't guard. So I'd say just defense, individual team defense.
Okay, that's interesting. Rachel wants to know, what is your favorite basketball moment?
It might be winning that small countries actually, especially as of late. We beat Rutgers at Rutgers in college. That was a good one. Yeah, but probably the small countries, I guess.
It doesn't sound like you're retiring anytime soon, but when it's all said and done and you do eventually stop playing, what do you want to be remembered for?
I guess I'd like to be remembered for like maybe being on the upswing of Irish basketball. That'd be a good one. And like Irish basketball, like because I know Conor Meany wrote that book with all the Irish Americans, but that's what they were. They're Irish Americans and they're, hired hands basically. And I know like the coach, Bill Dooley, was my assistant coach. Like he told me all about those teams. It'd be nice to build an Irish team full of Irish guys, through and through Irish guys. So if we could do that and like, yeah, I don't know what that would look like exactly, how good we could get, but if we could, build something worthwhile, that'd be something, and be associated with that, that'd be something good.
Okay, very good. I'm going to move on to the sideline 7. It's the same 7 questions at the end of every episode. Question 1, what is your favourite quote?
Oh, sugar. I don't really
Sorry, I probably should have sent you these, sorry.
Yeah, jeez. Let's come back to that. I might think something.
Okay, we'll come back to it. Question 2, what's the best sporting event you've been to? And you can pick one as a fan or one as a player.
Okay. As a fan, I went to Roland Garros final when I was young. Nadal, Federer. That was 15 years ago. Nadal's still winning. That's kind of crazy. So I guess that. As a player, probably playing Duke.
Very good.
Just for the spectacle.
Yeah, exactly. Question 3, what's been the biggest setback or challenge so far in your career and how did you react to it?
I mean, biggest setback, maybe my ACL tear, but then I came back better after that, so it's not as bad. Maybe I left the Czech Republic after leaving there. That kind of, it was jaded me a little bit, like with the professional process. So I'd say like that kind of made me think of it in a different way. But in a good way too, because I know I have more realistic, appreciation for it now. Like, not everyone's out to help you, basically. Sometimes you have to realize, which is tough, but true.
Very good. Question 4, what's been your biggest achievement on or off the court?
See, this is where the downside of wanting to do more comes in, where I'm just like, I haven't really done anything. I think I had a good career at Hartford. That's probably the best now at the moment. Hopefully I can eclipse that soon.
Very good.
Yeah, maybe that.
Looking back, what advice would you give your 18-year-old self?
18, so I was left IMG. I would say play for Ireland as much as possible, because I think I skipped a couple of opportunities to do that.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that before. You were invited a few times because you were away and stuff. You didn't. That was kind of nearly a regret, you were saying before.
One time I was hurt, in fairness. And I was
okay.
But then I didn't play for the 2018 team because I was in LA. But I wonder if I'd redo that. I have to think about that. But I would just say just play as much as possible for the Irish team. Yeah.
Question 6, who would be your dream dinner guest and why?
Norm MacDonald, but he's dead. Does that count?
Sure, we give you that. We'll give him.
He's the funniest guy ever.
Have you come up with a quote yet out of interest? Could you pick one?
No, I'm not a quote like guy because I feel like a quote will hit you well at one point, and then say you write it down or something, and then you look back and you're like, what was I thinking there? That's why I'll never get a tattoo, because I don't have the confidence in myself to pick something that important.
Okay, we'll just say not answered for a quote. Final question before I let you go. If your life was a book, what chapter would this be called?
What would this be called? Maybe Epiphany.
Okay, why that one?
Oh, I have to explain it too.
Yeah.
I feel like at this point I'm putting things together more than I used to.
Okay, very good. John, thank you so much for your time. We're well over an hour. Very best of luck in Spain with the Irish team. Hopefully I'll make the Cyprus game at home. But yeah, thanks a million for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
A massive thank you to John for joining me on the podcast today. I thoroughly enjoyed our chat and I hope you got something from it. Don't forget to support the Irish senior men's team in their upcoming Eurobasket games. If you are enjoying the podcast, I'd really appreciate if you'd leave a rating and review over on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, as it really does help the show grow. Don't forget to check out the website thesidelinelive.com for more content. Thanks as always for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one.